Indeed. Greetings upon you, beloved and only friends. Thank you so much for joining me again. Another day, another video, another experience. I really do appreciate you being here with me. Man, it's a windy day today, so I had to set the camera up in like a little bit of a nook. I hope it mitigates at least a little bit of the wind noise. Probably see my hair going all about. Yeah, good old wind. Man, I'm not sure if we're going to get that deep into it, but I've been getting into, you know, the subjects of DNA again. Especially this morning, you know. Oh man, I don't know if I want to get in. Do I want to talk about this? Maybe a little bit, just to get it off my chest, if you will. Lisa, it's nice to have you here, my beloved friend. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I guess I can just, you know, share what I want to share. Like, me and my dad hold opposing views. Some of you friends know this by now. And yesterday, well, not yesterday, this morning, again, man, I want to say 1,000 things at the same time. Yesterday, we basically had this conversation about universal basic income. And this morning, we had a conversation about DNA and the fact that we have in our genome code, like leftover gene code, for us to code for like tails, for example. And we have a tailbone as well, you know, remnants of when we used to have tails as a species. You know, like, it's, my dad doesn't believe it. That's the point. That's the thing that I'm struggling with. He's like, nah, can't be proven. You can't prove that there is, you know, genes for coding tails in humans. And I'm like, but you can. He's like, nope. He says to me, nope, can't be done. You know, like, I'm starting to learn as well that if someone doesn't actually know what it is you're talking about, or they don't understand the whole scope of what is capable or possible, I should say, rather, then just don't argue with them. No, I'm at that point now where I realize that it doesn't actually help at all. And my brother was actually the one that ended up stepping in, because me and my dad were having this conversation in the kitchen, and me being like, so like, I asked him, where does he think Neanderthals come from? And he's like, oh, it was a subspecies of humans, you know. That's like, he believes that's it, like, that God made Neanderthals as well as just another type of human. Where we know where Neanderthals come from, you know. Oh, I'm not gonna get triggered. I'm not gonna, no, we're not gonna talk about that. Whoa, Melt, talking about DNA, go for it. Yeah, you see, the thing for me, like, the reason I'm very fascinated by DNA is I've been getting into something called epigenetics. You know, and epigenetics is this study of how your environment can affect your genes. Because basically what it says is that with your environment, and the wind is really going for it today, with your environment being in a certain way, you basically evolve to survive in that environment as well. So the way that you feel about things and the way you process things basically becomes ingrained in you on a DNA level. However, not a permanent DNA level. Like, it's not something that is indefinite. And then what they found as well is that not only is it not permanent, but we as human beings have the capacity to influence our own genomes, you know, through epigenetics. We can upregulate and downregulate certain gene expressions. And yeah, this has literally been something that I've been practicing. Like, I feel like it's almost it's a form of meditation / lifestyle / practice. Maybe, I think practice is a better word, because it's, I think I stepped on a cricket. I'm sorry, little dude. I don't know how to explain it directly though. It's literally like this process of meditating, and then in your meditative state, basically telling yourself what it is you want to realize inside of your own being. And hey, Yader, it's nice to have you here as well, friend. Am I missing anyone? Yader, Management, Gandalf, and Frosty Titties. Nice to have you friends here. Man, I don't think I'm going to have an easy time rolling today with the wind raging and rampanting as it is at the moment. But we're gonna try. Good to be here with you, Yader, Rena, Waves, there we go. And Lisa, hope you're doing well. I hope so as well. I've always dreamt about having a tail. That's interesting, Rena. Because I didn't even think about that. Like, even though I know we have these genes, you know, 4 tails, I never really considered wanting or having a tail of my own. The real thing with having a tail for myself is just, I'm just imagining, you know, the logistics of that. Like, I'm imagining myself sitting down right now, and then if I lean back, isn't my tail going to be in the way? And then I'm gonna like be adding pressure on my tail. Right? I just see like a bunch of people in the hospital as well who like fell on their asses and broke their tails. Hey Kiki. Hey Kiki. Nice of a there. Hi. Hi my leafy down. And there she goes. Always dreamt about having tail. Doing well. Have my day off, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about that as well, friend. Thank you for joining here. Thank you for joining me here on our day off. Man, I feel a little bit out of it today. Just a little bit out of it. I had a really good meditation session where I was like actively trying to make myself aware of what it feels like to be relaxed, you know, in a state of relaxation. You want to join me again? No? And like I felt like I went through these waves where I would start to focus on relaxation or what that means to me. And this is a part of the whole epigenetics things as well. It's basically, yeah, exactly. And you can break that as well, but it's not that long, you know. I mean, if you had an entire tail sticking out of that tailbone, I can kind of see it getting in the way most of the time. Maybe not all of the time, but most of the time. Adrenaline, cortisol management is crucial. A lot of modern diseases come from non-regulated cortisol. Yeah, because cortisol at the end of the day kind of stimulates inflammation as well. And the real bane of existence to humans is inflammation. Problem is we do so many things that cause inflammation, and we're not aware of these effects. Like sugar, for example. I know you don't want to hear this, but sugar kind of like fucks you up as well, you know. Causes a lot of inflammation because of the amount of sugar that it puts in your bloodstream. I think it's just the frequency with which we eat it. Pretty much everything in nature can cause some sort of inflammatory response. And it's impossible or naive for us to try and avoid all of it. But I think in knowing which of them can be, you know, detrimental to our health, we can take some steps if we are powerful enough as beings to do that. I just think we're not educated enough on how to do that. Imagine if we actually grew up in schools being explained these concepts. Like, okay kids, we're going to meditate and we're going to focus on cortisol. Like, I think it would be pretty easy for me as an 8-year-old, because I was already like interested in concepts like this. Like, I wanted to be a chemical engineer as an 8-year-old. And my proficiency tests told me that I have to be a chemical engineer as well, but my entire family is a bunch of engineers, and I did not see myself going down the same line. Just off like personal witnessing, you know, of their lives, looking to what I know outside and being like, I'm not sure if I want the same thing for myself. Man, the wind today is kind of spicy. Let's get into it nonetheless. Yeah, the tailbone, adrenaline, cortisol. Oh yeah. I was getting into the trip of teaching kids about these things because they're not that complicated. Like if you look at them structurally, they're kind of simple. If you understand their functions, you know, and how they bond to like cells, kind of simple. Like genuinely, like neurochemistry is not that complicated. And I think just equipping kids with the knowledge of understanding that they have these things inside of themselves can give them a new lens to judge their own behaviors and to just to like co-create for themselves with their own bodies and their own minds, instead of just kind of, as we usually think we are, being victims to our bodies and minds, you know, feeling depressed. It's usually like, oh, my brain doesn't produce the right chemicals, instead of being like, oh, these are the chemicals my brain is supposed to be producing. What can I do with my diet? What can I do with exercise? What can I do with meditation? What can I do with my sleep? What can I do with the water I'm drinking? What can I do with the, you know, enter whatever here to better that situation. Hopefully at some point we'll get there. Melting 420. Coincidence. It's coincidence. Hades. Melting 420. Like, it is 420 right now. It's not a coincidence, dude. That's actually how it started, Hades. Like, these streams started off with me only, like, smoking after 420, and then also happened to go live while I'm doing that. Yeah, and that's how we kind of started this whole streaming journey. Night, it's nice to see you as well. Been a while. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing so well, friend. I feel a little bit discombobulated as of now. Just because I'm feeling some things about my current situation, you know. Nothing that's going to help me if I talk about it necessarily. If anything, it's just going to raise concern. So, yeah, knowing that, I'm going to choose not to. So now I'm curious as to what I want to write down as my intention. Hello, you. Hello, you. It's cold this winter. I know. I'm freezing. I have goosebumps all over myself. Ow! Like, do you see the goosebumps on me? I think you'd be able to. It's so cold, and the wind is like cutting. It's like cutting the heat off of my body. What do we want to set as our intention, Kiki? She's trying to bite this little string now. Because I love it, dude. And I think Reddit has a lot of potential. Is the first and foremost reason. These concepts, let me go back. I'd love to have classes like that in school, and it would make so much sense to have them. It would make so much sense. It would make more sense to have classes like that. Imagine having a dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, cortisol, maybe like for the boys, testosterone, and for the girls, actually for both of them, testosterone, estrogen classes. And which one do I think is very essential as well? Like, I'm thinking adrenaline, but like dopamine and adrenaline are so similar. You could technically teach adrenaline in the dopamine class as well. But yeah, imagine just going to these classes, genuinely learning about your own neurochemistry, learning about how your diet, how your way of living, the things you do throughout your day, meditating, sleeping well, exercising, the water you drink, like all of these things. If you could genuinely go to a class and learn about these things, I feel this would have significantly more life value, you know, something that you can actually use in life, than the stuff that we ended up learning in high school as it is right now. You know, I feel with that said, I think I know my intention, understanding. Understanding is my intention. I try and understand things. I can't understand all things though, but we can try to. Yes, the wind is not gonna let me roll a joint, is it? These concepts are likely easier for children to understand. Adults have to overcome their own biases to understand these concepts. You're very right, Yader. I do actually believe that kids would be able to understand them better as well. And it's actually this what I'm talking about right now is what the book is that I'm writing about. The book I'm writing is about just that. I basically start the book off by explaining, you know, I actually start with just the brain, like the actual physical structure of the brain and the like lizard brain, monkey brain, elephant brain that we have there. Then I go into talking about you know, the Freudian idea of ego. Then I go into the idea of neurochemistry. No. I think I might go after ego into consciousness, and then I go into neurochemistry. And then I literally explain, you know, through some scientific data. I just basically give you an overhaul of these things. And after I basically went through the overhaul of the chemicals, I went into reward systems, how we as humans have 5 reward systems. And then, like, that's basically as much as the book I finished. I'm busy right now with a part of the book that is very difficult for me to write, because it feels like in a little bit of a way that it's hard for me to write it, because it's like, let me just say it the way it is. So there's this book called, I think, 92 Lessons for Making Friends, or something like that, the book is called. And it basically has this: do something in a social situation, be it make someone feel better, be it, what are you doing? What you eating yourself? Basically, like, uses these different cues in humanity to stimulate a feeling or an understanding within someone. And what's cool about it is that it doesn't go into that book, into the chemical parts of it. But what I want to do is I want to introduce those ideas and then kind of frame them with the understanding of the levels of the brain, the levels of reward systems, the levels of chemicals that is associated with those actions, if that makes any sense. But it's difficult to write. It's very difficult to write, especially, you know, from the place of, I feel like it's plagiarism, you know, because I'm using these ideas that was already written and then trying to explain them through this lens that I see them through. And I should just get out of my own head, you know. Like, at the end of the day, we're constantly creating anew with each other after we figured out something. And quite literally, like, after you find some information on something, you can realize things about that even the person that wrote that information didn't realize in that moment. And if you don't do that, you would be, you know, I feel like stealing from the whole, because you're not creating this thing even though you know how to. So understanding. What does that taste like? Consideration, maybe. Yeah. Actually, understanding and consideration go really well together. Yeah, the reason I pick understanding today as well is because of something my dad told me today. You know, we were talking about this DNA topic, and when he concluded that you can't prove that we have literal gene codes in our DNA to code for tails, he was like, you can't prove that. I was like, Dad, you just don't understand genetics. And then he called me onnoosel is the Afrikaans word. It's like retarded. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm the retarded one. Because I'll say a lot, you know, if you talk about things in whatever fashion, you know, be it ethereal, be it spiritual, be it psychedelic in nature, the conversation. Some things you don't necessarily understand if you haven't experienced them directly. And this is true, you know, like, I don't understand a bunch of things because I haven't experienced them directly. But to my dad, that is an offense, you know, for me to say that he doesn't understand something. So he retaliated by calling me retarded. I was like, oh, okay, that's the same thing. You can be very intelligent as a person and not understand something. Doesn't make you a retard. But yeah. So that's why I have this intention of understanding on this joint today. Just to move into that feeling, that understanding, the understanding of understanding, and the knowing that you can understand things or not understand things, regardless of your intelligence. It's not necessarily something that goes coincided. Sure, you can understand more things if you're more intelligent, but I believe if you're, for example, less intelligent, you can understand different things about the world that the intelligent person won't be able to. And it's not for us to judge, you know, whether or not someone is intelligent or not, or judge them based on whether or not they're intelligent or not. Oh, no. Are you on a road to becoming a guru? No, friend. I am on the road to becoming myself. Hey, Melty. Hey, SDZ. It's so nice to have you here, my friend. Why would you stream on Reddit? Again, I just love it here, dude. It's such an amazing community, and not Twitch, for example. It's about the people. Genuinely, it's about the people. I feel Twitch is a little bit more like gaming oriented / content oriented, where like the premise of even in just chatting is gonna be like someone talking while they're like at the bottom in a block of the screen, and you're looking with them at other content, and that can be fun. I do agree that can be fun, but that's not necessarily the vibe, if you will, that I'm going for right now. These streams to me are more importantly about co-creation, and that's what we do here. We talk to each other, we feel into each other's ideas. Man, this wind is so cold. Yo, hey there. Love and hugs to you as well, Kathy. Thank you for joining us. Hey, what's up again? Hey, No Lift. No Lift? I'll call you No Lift. How have you been, friend? Those would be good classes, true. I think so as well. What do you think about that, though? You know, from your Christian perspective, if you will. No Lift. I'm really curious because I'm basically not allowed to have conversations like that with my dad, you know, talking about the nature of our brain chemistry and how the nature of our brain chemistry basically determines why we say some things, you know, how we feel about things. And he's like, no. No. Basically a class on the PNI system. Yeah, that would be, I think, the best. Good morning, Meld, and good day, friends in the chat. Good day to you as well. Good morning to you as well, my friend. Thank you for joining us again. Hello, everyone. I wish some parents understood their kids more. That they don't always know how to deal with the emotions they experience. It would have definitely made my life easier now. But at the same time, I do not blame my parents or your comment got cut off, friend. But I get what you're trying to say. Like, I feel it's very difficult as well, and I'm getting way too cold. Like, usually the blanket only comes out like almost end of stream when the sun has set, but this wind has just been cutting heat from me. So, by the way, you don't get cold, you lose heat. Fun fact. You're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, so the act of getting cold is literally heat leaving your body and you detecting that. You want to come and join me? You want to come and join me under the blanket? You want to come and join me? There you go. Oh. So, yeah, the thing I was trying to say about the whole parents thing, friend. The big thing with parents as well. Not there are holes in me. Is they're just people at the end of the day, you know? They're just people. And there's no manual. It's very difficult to know an individual person, even if they're an adult. Never mind being a child and not knowing who you are even. How are your parents supposed to know who you are or how to treat you? So it's difficult, friend. And as you said, you're not you're not blaming them for the way that they did raise you, but you wish that things would be different. And I think the only thing that you really can do is just realize how you're feeling about that, and don't do the same thing when you have kids one day. Bro, are you in college? No, I'm not, friend. You are co-creating, not stealing. You are not copying the words, concept, verbalism. I look forward to reading it, my friend. Thank you, Yader. Yeah, I feel that way as well, but it's so difficult, you know, as a creative person for me to do that, because I'm like, I should be knowing these things myself. Man, I'm having a hard time. But again, nothing that I can ever think of is going to be vaster than what has been thought of, if you will. Some people have tails that aren't fully grown out. Yes, true. Their spines extends out. Sometimes there's just be a small hole there. Exactly. You're sweet. Thank you. I love Kuro. I love you as well, my friend. I'm the slut of time. Oh, look at you. Don't listen to anything I say. I won't listen to anything you say, friend. Do you know any Zulu? I don't know any Zulu, friend. I don't know any Zulu. Can you not? Can you not eat my stuff? Can you just relax? Shh. Actually looks relaxed. There you go. You go, and she goes for it again. Man, I agree suspiciously. I try to have so much understanding with my children, and I try to remember they're learning every day, just like me, and just love them unconditionally through their success and failures. That's, I think, the only thing that we can legitimately do, Lisa. It's also, you know, why I believe that, as you said as well, like, they're constantly learning, and we're constantly learning right now in this moment as well. A lot of people aren't ready for kids, you know, not even remotely. A lot of people have kids for the wrong reasons, and that can lead to them being viciously unprepared for the actual prospect of having and raising a child. And with that being unprepared, it kind of turns out in the way that it turns out, where we feel neglected and we feel misunderstood. But it's just us being humans. Sometimes I get so sad. Sometimes I get so sad as well, my friend. Here we can at least communicate with each other about that sadness as well. And hey, Lane, thank you for joining us, my friend. I'm okay. Woke up sick. Had to call off work today. I'm sorry to hear that, friend. I mean, like, the being sick kind of ass, the getting to not go to work for a little bit and maybe, you know, make some music or play some Valorant or whatever. Maybe that's good, you know, maybe that's the experience you needed today, Lane. Love and light to you, my friend. I still don't understand nor can use Twitch. This is the only place I can watch streamers. I feel this is just a little bit more direct to me as well. I feel there's less separation between you friends and me, because it's technically we're using the same devices as well, right? Where, like, in a way, soon I know it, I'm sure as well. Hope you feel well soon, Lane, but the silver lining is that you are here with us now. Hope it helps. I hope so. Damn, you look like a textbook hippie. I guess so, friend. Hippie stands for highly intellectual person pursuing inner enlightenment at the end of the day, so maybe yes. Why does the dog bite you? Because she wants to play, but she knows now that when I say, it means stop doing what it is you're doing, and she listens. Look at her, she's sleeping. You can probably not see her, but believe me. Understanding. I don't know if you're still here, Jojo, but I'm sending you vibes. And thank you for joining us, friend. My parents both died. It was hell on earth. We all meet together in the center. I'm so sorry to hear that, friend. You know, like, I dearly, dearly, dearly love my father as well. And I feel that's where most of my turmoil comes from, when it comes to us disagreeing on things. Not so much because it's an actual disagreement that's happening, It's just because I love my dad so much, and I want to be able to communicate with him. You know, I want to be able to have intelligent conversations with him. But like, not believing in evolution and believing that humans and dinosaurs lived on the same planet together, and believing that you can't pull data from DNA and stuff like that, it just creates so much separation between me and him. And that's the part that bothers me. You know, that's the part that genuinely hurts me, because I don't want to feel separate from my own father. I want to be able to share these ideas, these concepts, and have his like co-creation on that, instead of it just being a, yeah, that's not in the Bible, so that's not how it works. For example, my father also doesn't believe that, my father also doesn't believe that we as human beings are capable of living longer than 120 years, because it says in the Bible that humans can only live to 120 years. You know, that just, it's very difficult to relate to something like that. And thank you for the energy you're giving me, Jojo. Maybe you've been giving me energy this whole time. I feel all over the place. Melt has got to get a Zippo. The wind can't blow them out. Yeah, I guess that would help. I mean, the wind is stopping for a second. No. Maybe even one of those electric arc lighters would work as well. Another thing I appreciate and really listen to Estienne and our younger friends to relate to my children's perspective. So I'm grateful for those who share their stories. Sorry, that is tough, man. I'm sure it is very tough. But at least we're here together to feel about those things. And I hear what you're saying, Lisa. Thank you so much for being willing to do something like that as well. Like, I think from the perspective of a like, I want to say child, you know, a child to a parent, I genuinely respect you for doing that as well. I think respect, I feel, yeah, respect is definitely more of an intention for drinking water today. Every single time I take a sip of this water, I'll be thinking about what respect means to me, and the respect I have for you, Lisa. Because being able to, as a parent, go out of your way to listen to the way that, you know, older people, kids, you know, that are maybe older than your kids, like, feel about the world and the ideas they share, in order to have a better vocabulary, to be able to understand when they communicate with you, and to be able to co-create with them when they choose to. It's very beautiful, Lisa, and I'm sure your kids will appreciate it as well when the time comes. It is interesting, as I do some neuroscience and we touch on neurochemistry. I had a convo with a preacher at my church who thought about how patterns can be established in the brain to help follow the Bible more. You can ask God and pray that He can change your heart and help, but I believe He can open doors to make it easier to do that. That's really interesting. So it was a preacher who was like learning about neurochemistry in order to establish patterns that would make people believe the Bible more or follow the Bible more. That's a yikes, dude. Like, does that not terrify you? Just like, what did you say to that preacher? Were you like, that's a good idea, or did you like interject? That's not how you're supposed to be doing it. Like, I think if anything, you should basically equip people with this information, and let them create for themselves the reality that they need out of that. Giving them this information while also directing them in the only way they're allowed to use that information is manipulation at the end of the day. And I think that's evil. Zippos have a lot of maintenance. It's also true, they do. Hola, dados, come este ahoy? Nee, ek weet nie wat jy sê nie, ou. Damn, that was a good way to look at things. I see the joint. I just smoked my own. Well, thank you for joining me, friend, and for melting more today. I honestly might have to follow for these streams. Well, here you go, Slime Bomb. I mean, we would love to have you here, friend. Or Slim Bomb, technically. We would love to have you here, dude. We do this every day. Every single day we come together, we explore ideas, we feel into life, you know. Be it the things that I'm experiencing and choosing to share, be it the things that you've experienced and choose to share. Here we come together and feel things. Management, thank you for that. I agree. I'm newish here to Reddit, and honestly, this is wholesome. Not only Meltmore, but the chats as well. For your information, Meltmore. Die, haha, was baie snaaks, ja, Afrikaans kom deur. Ja, everyone's suspicious. Ek is Afrikaans aan die einde van die dag, maar dankie dat jy hier so saam met my is. Ek is baie dankbaar om in die posisie te wees wat ek is, dude. Ek hoop dat ons die wêreld ten minste kan wys dat Suid-Afrika 'n nice plek is om in te kom, dude. Dalk kan ons hierdie plek nog red. And thank you for the helpful Slim Bomb. True, and in the Bible, humans used to live up to 900 years old. You see, that is true as well. And when my dad told me that the Bible says humans can only live to 120 years, I was like, but what about the people that used to live to 900 years? And then he was like, yeah, but then the oxygen was higher and there was more pressure. And I was like, okay, so I agree with what you're saying. But what if we can either, one, stimulate those environments for a human and have them live in that environment, or code for our genomes that we can, like, basically the only thing that we really have to change in our genomes, and like there's a bunch of things that I focus on right now, like man, I've forgotten one of them, damn it. Anyway, the ones I do know about are like brain-derived neurotrophic factor. I try and focus on that one, try and upregulate that one. Growth hormone, obviously. Testosterone, for myself, obviously. And then another one that I try and downregulate is something called myostatin. Myostatin is this chemical hormone, basically, that is produced inside of your own body that downregulates the expression of muscles. So as you start exercising and as your muscles start to increase in size, myostatin basically tells those muscles to slow down, because the exponential growth of muscles is also going to increase the food needs of that individual. So it's evolutionarily not great for a being to have low myostatin, because they would, as a result, need more food and could eat so much they could starve their village. But right now, since we have an abundance in food, it's something that I would want to do, you know, knock out, like with actual gene editing, my myostatin gene, maybe at least some part of it, because knockout is something that we can do as well. You literally knock out a gene in your gene code. And if I can do that, literally, I would grow muscle as I'm sitting here. And that also makes you live longer. In rats that they did that to, they live 30% longer. Their hearts are healthier, the intramuscular, like, tissue between their organs are healthier. Yeah, we're very complex beings with these insanely complex genomes, and yet we're starting to actually, we've now properly decoded the entire human genome as well. And what we're doing right now as well is like there's this convergence of technology happening, where there is this cybernetic influence happening, there is this genome influence happening, and then there is this AI influence happening. So through the cybernetics, like I think cybernetics might come before genome editing. So cybernetics is going to enter our realm, and it's going to equip us to do things with our brains that we've never been able to do before. Then I believe maybe it will be AI next. Is going to come in and then equip us to do even more, you know, probably solve all of our problems. And then also, hand in hand with all of those two is going to be gene editing. And if you really think about what we're capable of, having direct access to mind, having direct access to AI, having direct access to DNA, and then using those three in union with one another, it is going to create a reality in which we can quite literally change everything about what it means to be a human. And I'm not saying that's what I'm going to do. I'm just saying that's probably going to be a reality that we're going to face at some point. And I feel it's going to be scary in a lot of ways, going to be very scary. And if we're not prepared mentally and articulately, I feel, you know, in the way that you can talk about things and feel about things, it's going to be too much. I look kind of majestic in the wind like that. I'm happy that you feel that way, friend. I mean, for me, I don't mind the wind that much, other than that it's cold. But yeah, and I understand, and learning other perspectives. I truly appreciate every person here, and I appreciate everyone's vulnerability and willingness to open and share and support each other. You're doing that as well, Lisa, so thank you for you, my friend. I hope you know that you're appreciated just as much as you appreciate us. Thank you for sharing the space with us. Good afternoon. I'm a mother to 2, and their joy and happiness as a sport is as important as their education and life experience. I do the opposite to the parenting of my parents, and it seems to work. Just remember to not be defined by differences. You and your comment got cut off, my friend. You and your father, you and your family or your parents will get along at some point as well. I'm guessing that's what you'll probably say. And I do agree with that, friend. I do hope so. Man. And I'm very happy about what you said as well. Their joy and happiness is as important as their education and life experience. Because hot diggity damn, so many people are prioritizing education vastly over joy and happiness of that. You know, if you look at the schooling system as it is right now, it's a very efficient way to make kids very depressed. And I know, you know, because we went through, a lot of us probably went through that in personal experience. High school really sucked for me. Primary school even more. Then he's basically our age as well. You're right, Lisa. Him and Lane can be buds. I mean, we all can be buds. Would he be interested in these streams? I'm curious, Lisa. It makes me so happy that Lane is one of the friends that's here as well. Because Lane is the same age as my little brother. And my little brother doesn't, even for a second, you know, respect what it is I'm doing, or what I believe it is I'm doing. Like, he'll make fun of me for the things that I believe in his age group, you know. But I understand that, and I still love him for it nonetheless. Well, see. Not to convince people to do that, but to help believers establish and better carry out those things. I'm gonna put this down. For example, you have issues with anger, you pray to God first and foremost, but you can also do things to help with that, like exercise, hanging out with family, etc. All things permitted in the Bible that help you. I hear what you're saying, No Lift, but like it feels like what you're saying is a little bit contrived, because you're like, oh, you have to first and foremost ask God to help you, and then you have to do the work yourself, you know. I feel like you don't have to have the first step. And I do talk to God all the time, you know. At least in my way of talking to God, it's usually this like recognition of the divine nature of that, and being in awe and gratitude to that, right? And that's my way of communicating with it. And then I still have to do the work, you know. I never ask like, oh, I have problems with anger, can you please help me deal with this anger? I'm like, nah. Like, God already gave me everything that I need to deal with the stuff I have to deal with. Now it's going to be my responsibility is the right word to do that. I've not been to Canada, my friend. What language is that? I speak in tongues, dude. I can actually speak in tongues, but that is Afrikaans. And hey, Trevor, thank you for joining us, and thank you for the helpful. I appreciate it. I'm doing well. How are you doing? It's true, though, but God said that people won't grow older than 120s. That is, yeah, you know, God said is what you're saying, dude. I'm 100% sure God never said that. Never ever he said that, dude. Guess nobody knows. He is South African. There we go. Are you all from South Africa? No, friend. I think it's probably just me and you right now. Everyone's suspicious. Afrikaans. So I'm in US, Georgia, basically Dutch. Oh, okay, Dutch. There we go. It's basically Dutch. It's very close to Dutch, yeah. I thought it was Swedish, lol. Afrikaans is basically Dutch. There we go. Yeah, my Afrikaans friends love it when I say rude shit in Afrikaans. Maintenance loud. Yeah, like I feel at the end of the day, the whole fascination with someone cursing in your language is like you see the attempt, you know, and it sounds funny because it feels like hearing a parrot say that word, right? Because they don't necessarily understand what it means or how much weight is behind a word like that. For example, there's like this P word in my language, and it's kind of not something that I say. It's spelled P-O-E-S, and it's not a nice word to say. And like people will encourage others to say that word out loud, and then it's funny because they say this horrible thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm not in judgment of your friends. Like, I'm just feeling into why that is that we do that. I don't know why. I didn't like, so I kind of stopped it. Lane is a cool name. I appreciate it as well. It's nice to have you here, man, as always. I must say, he is very verbose. I speak words nice, yes. I can butcher it a little bit if I want to. Like, some of the Afrikaans accents you'll hear will kind of sound like this, you know. That's how you can talk. It's not how I talk, though. But you can't talk like that. Thanks, maintenance. I got it from my parents. Lol, yeah. So, one of my old friends' middle name was Lane. It is a cool name. You have these kids in high school now having college degrees before they turn 18. Talk about pressure. It's kind of a yikes, Mr. Smities. And again, like, this makes me think of my experience in China, where I was literally expected to condition these kids to a certain way of being, you know. And it was not only expected of me from my school, but it was also expected of me from the actual parents, where their childrenness, their childlike behaviors wasn't something that was either encouraged or accepted, and I had to use, be it like pointing systems, be it putting them in the corner, literally creating separation with inside of them, be it like reward based, they get points, and then certain amount of points means they get like a little picture. Like it was this I felt like I was training them. I wanted to do that. The only way that I felt I could make up for that was still to be a loving presence for them, to still love them genuinely, even though I had to do these things, and gave them as much choice as I possibly could when it comes to their choices and what they want to like learn or talk about or like sing, for example. And yeah, like it's not just, you know, in China that's happening. It's happening all over the world. It's happening in schools right now, because we're training humans to be employees with the schooling system we have right now. When I understand there is value in broad spectrum education, because you're kind of like catching all of the fish in the big net, right? But yeah, that's not the way it's supposed to be. If you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will always think it's stupid. We're all very unique, very special beings, and I believe if we live in a society where we can genuinely take care of our kids in a way where we encourage them to follow their passions, and we cultivate their passions from a young age, and we support them in following those passions. Like, imagine if like me as a kid. For example, like I was really into like botany as a kid. Uh, and my parents like kind of went hardcore with that, helped me like create a little bit of a vegetable garden, and like doing something like that for me, and like maybe taking like a day off of school out of a week so that we have a little bit more time to work on the vegetable garden. I genuinely believe there's going to be more education in me doing something as arbitrary and basic as spending time with my parents and making a vegetable garden than I would have learned during that age at school. And like that is just a basic example. You can do it for everything, you know, painting, you know, experiments in chemistry, math, you know, you add the list. If we could actually support people's passions from a young age and cultivate those passions, cancer curing doctors, even more like technologically advancing engineers, you know, add great thing for humanity here, because we actually treated our children the way they were supposed to be treated in the first place, as divine individualized beings, not as another number to be thrown into the wood chipper at a school sometimes. My parents wanted me to graduate early. That would have been a lot of work, and I would basically have no free time, so I didn't. My parents always bring up the fact that I could have graduated early. What does that mean? Yeah, dude. Oh, goodness, Lane. Oh, what are you gonna do, bro? Now you're in school for an extra year. Oh, no. Oh, no, dude. You're probably going to suffer for the rest of your life because you spent another year of life being in life. You know, people's rush to get this like certain thing, like, okay, so the faster you get to this point where you have a job, you have this house, you have a wife and kids, the faster you get to that, the faster you have succeeded, right? Like if you're married with 2 kids and your own house at 25, then people are like, yeah, you're doing good, right? And then if you're 35 and you have no wife, no kids, you're still traveling the world, not buying yourself an apartment, but spending your money on actual traveling, and people are like, oh, this dude is throwing his life away, what is he doing, you know? And who are we to say? Who are we to say? Like, I believe genuinely there would be more experience in the 35-year-old traveling the world for that long, spending all of his money regardless of, you know, these societal expectations. There's going to be so much experience in that can't be compared or taken away by saying like, oh, but you don't have a wife and kids, you don't have you know, a stable house or a stable job. I believe this life is just beautiful for what it is. We don't have to attach these time frames, these idealistic like scenarios, because again, it is this concentrated hope, like, oh, only if you've achieved all of these things, if everything in your life converged to this point where you have these things, then your life is okay, then your life has been, you know, worth something, it means something. Life is and that's what we should realize. Life is. I hate the B word. I also do, dude. It's just not nice, man. It's not nice. How is it pronounced? What does it mean? It's like a profanity word. Do you say profanity? It's a profane way to talk about females' private parts. Yeah, that's what it means, friends. So yeah, I don't like talking about it. What about Zach? Futsek. Futsek is like, go away. That's a little bit of a better one. You can say Futsek. Futsek is okay. Thanks, bro. I'm one of a kind. Absolutely. That you definitely are. Appreciate your vibe on this Monday morning, and I appreciate yours as well. Thank you for, in turn, sharing your vibes with me. My son listens sometimes with me, Estienne. We do discuss a lot. We talk about... also, I discuss it with my other 2 children, and Lane is a talented musician. Yes, he is. Cringe for that accent, lol. Dude! Like, that is usually, like, the Afrikaans accent that I hear, you know, and you hear the You're the quad? She's hearing my dad leave. And she usually drives with him. But she's so comfortable, so she doesn't know if she actually wants to get up. I don't think she's got it. What are you smoking on there? Bro, I'm smoking on some iced cabbage, actually. It's been really nice. I have a friend who is teaching in China now. He seems to be enjoying it very much. So, how long has he been doing it for? I have to ask that first. Ever go to Korea? I've not been to Korea. Have you heard of Serpenza? He's a South African man who lives in China, who live in China for a bit. No, I have not heard about Serpenza. Like, that's a very interesting description you gave of him as well, dude. Like, I wonder if Serpenza knows about me, because I'm a man who lived in China for a bit, dude. You see, I'm being spicy. I'm sorry. Thank you for the all-seeing upvote, friend, and thank you for the silver as well. I appreciate it. You have to be that way in East Asia, though. If you don't, someone with power will shame you. Yeah, that's the thing as well. Like, there was so many different power structures when I was there. It was almost 30, no wife, no kids, but living my best life. Yeah, king, you're living your best life, dude. Don't let anyone tell you when you're supposed to get married, when you're supposed to have kids. You do you, boo. You live your life. You live in the felt fact of your immediate experience. And as long as you do that, at the end of your life, you're going to have no regrets, because you're going to know that you honored yourself. And in honoring yourself, you're honoring the whole. Is a good word. It can be. It's like, it's almost the same. I mean, it's the Afrikaans one that I'm talking about. It's not the same. It's like, it's the same meaning, and they both start with P, but that is not the word we're talking about, friend. We're talking about the Afrikaans word. Like, we have other words. Man, I don't want to get into this topic. And hey, Slag, thank you for joining us, my friend. It's so nice to have you here. I think he's been over there for a few years now. Fike, he's worked for a few different schools. You see, but that's the thing as well. I also worked for a few different schools while I was there. Because if you're genuinely happy, you don't want to go and work for different schools. And that's the part of it that made me, you know, not want to work there, not want to be there anymore. Like, the fact that I was feeling badly about what I was doing in some ways to the kids, I was still able to be a loving influence there for them. But the way I was being treated as an employee, and just the absolute sheer chaos that is the teaching industry in China, it feels like nobody knows what the hell is going on, like, all of the time. And yeah, that's like the vibe. And to me, like, it was like, okay, I'm gonna move to this different school, because clearly it must be this school that doesn't know what's going on. And then I moved to another school, and they have less of an idea of what's going on. And I'm like, oh goodness. And then I go to another school, and they had the most of the ideas of what was going on, fortunately. And then I got arrested for working there. So yeah, like, China was a vibe, dude. I learned a lot. Sorry, I meant he's a popular YouTuber from South Africa. Was wondering if you've heard of him. No, I haven't, friend. A popular YouTuber makes a little bit more sense why you would think why I would know of him, but I don't, unfortunately. Smoking a little iced cabbage myself. Whoa. What are the odds of us both smoking iced cabbage right now? Because I think this is the first time that has ever happened. So cheers to you, friend. How long were you there? I was there for 1 year and 6 months. As far as I know. Oh, thank you so much for letting me know what that means. My bad. It's okay. Interesting perspective. I'll have to ask him about this next time I talk with him. Ask him about that. Like, just ask him, like, do they know what's going on? Do you feel their school systems and their structures are good? Like, I'm also curious if he works for one of the franchises. Like, the law school that I was working for was like a franchise type of school called American Baby. And they had like really rigid structures with their teaching material, with like their documentation of their teaching material, and they had like set ways of teaching. So in that way, they kind of knew what was going on. Where all of my previous schools, I was expected to produce all of that, produce content, produce new dances, produce new structures for teaching, implement enough games in order to keep the kids moving so they actually, you know, stay active and present in class. It was very exhausting, especially because I felt like I had no help in that. And that was, it's just, it feels like they didn't know what's going on, dude. And I feel genuinely with the way that our younger generations are growing up right now, being in this technological age, they're still, you know, and like a lot of them are still in their teenage years. I'm talking about the generation that literally for their entire existences known like smartphone devices or smart devices in general. So like basically everyone born after the year 2006 was when it really became a thing, right? Damn. So like, oh man, they're like 15 years old at this point. They're still going through, especially now, some difficult shit with their own, you know, internal chemistry being all out of whack. But the way they're going to emerge from this is definitely going to be a perspective, an experience that no one else in existence has ever had before them, you know. And with this being the fact of our reality and everything being in a constant flux and change, that is going to happen. There's going to be new generations being born, and they're going to have a different perspective on reality because they literally live in a different dimension to you. Think about it. Like we understand that in this dimension there used to be a time where we didn't have internet, you know. Like I maybe didn't have internet for 3 years of my life. You know, before I knew how to use the internet. So no, maybe it was like 2 years actually. I had access to the internet at the age of 7. Yeah. So maybe like at 5 I would have been able to use the internet. So I knew that there wasn't internet, and then growing up with internet, it definitely enabled me so much more information. Comparatively to the way that my father had to grow up. You got arrested in China? Holy shit, Lamar. Yeah, like during my visa basically expired during the whole pandemic, and with my expired visa, I got transferred by the people I was working for to another school, and then while I was working there, they were supposed to help me fix my visa situation so that I could work legally, and then in attempts to fix my visa situation, it basically prompted the police to my presence there, and then they came and arrested me in class because my visa had expired, but we were trying to renew my visa, you know, it was like this stupid thing. Got like put on house arrest, paid like it was like 32,000 rand, so about $2,800 fine to get my visa back, and then I got to get back to what the fuck, dude? I got to come back to South Africa on like a repatriate flight. COVID, yeah. It was a trip. Got hammered out those thousands practice book pages and correct the immaculate in 45 minutes flat. No education. What? and correct them. Oh, yeah, you're talking about like the whole schooling system, I'm guessing. Is ice cabbage euphemism for weed? Because if not, maybe I lied. Oh, no, this is the strain iced cabbage. But I am smoking weed, so we're both smoking weed, I guess. Still, joining in the 420 frequency, if you will. But I thought you were actually smoking on the strain iced cabbage. How much prep time did you get to prepare all of that material? Oh, you're talking about for one of the classes. Like, basically 6 hours. I had to be in office for like 6 hours to get my hours in, and then the kids would only come to like class after their classes. It would be like an extracurricular. Are you comfortable? She's like laying with her tummy on my arm. Were you part of the carte blanche segment on teachers getting arrested in China? No, I wasn't, friend. If you don't mind me asking, when does SA celebrate its Independence Day? I don't think we do, slag. I'm trying to memorize Independence Days over time. Okay, are you trying to find all of the different Independence Days of different countries? That's an interesting point. OP, all future generations from this point will never know life before the internet. Fucking wild. Yeah, dude. It would literally, there is no reality in their brains where there isn't this interconnectivity, where they have access to all of the information in the world. Like, just think about that. Because technically, I grew up in the age where the internet was a thing already, right? I just didn't have access to it, genuinely. And it wasn't that great yet. But the type of internet that our generations have right now, and always having access to that as your reality, man, what a trip. And we're moving more and more into that as well. It's not something we can escape at this point. We do have a taste, I believe is a good word, for information. We have Freedom Day. It's the 27th of April. Thank you very much. I'm happy that you actually know the date. What are you drinking? What would you do in your spare time in China? I am drinking water, my friend. And legitimately, most of the time, I would watch content. Like, be it YouTube or like stuff I would download. That's most of my time, my free time spent. And then sometimes I would go out. I maybe like went out 10 times. That might be a little bit generous, but maybe like 10 times my entire stay in China. Like, all of the times I went out, I made myself have fun, like I brought the fun to the situation I was going to. But yeah, and like, it's not, I don't regret not going more. Good lord, that is crazy. I'd be terrified. It was terrifying. Sounds like a trip. It was, dude. Like, when I was in house arrest, like I was basically had to stay in my apartment for like 30 days while they decided what they're going to do with me after they took me in for like a interrogation and stuff. Taking my freaking hairband, taking my watch, taking my phone, taking my passport. Like, watching them take these things and put it in a safe box. I was just like, oh, I'm not leaving China anytime soon, am I? That was like the thought that was going through my head. I was like, well, and in that moment, I just kind of like, oh well, this is where I am, And I was still so keenly aware, even though I was scared shitless, I was so keenly aware of my scared shitlessness. No matter how scared I got, it couldn't squeeze from me the very great gift that is my awareness. And I was just ultra aware, I got this interrogation that happened, basically. Went through this whole trip of like why it is I'm doing what it is I'm doing, why I am there, why my visa has been expired this long, and I explained to them the whole situation. and I feel they did have some sympathy for me at least. Like something I do want to say about that. When I got into the actual interrogation room, they offered me cigarettes. And up to this point, I have not smoked a single cigarette in my entire life. And I think I smoked 3 off of them offering me those cigarettes. Because I was so scared. And I was like, this dude is offering me, you know, something out of kindness. And would me rejecting this offering of him, because I know, like, at that point I understood Chinese culture as well, rejecting a gift is a no-no in China. Like, you don't say to people, no, don't give me this thing that you were trying to give me. So I was smoking cigarettes with this dude, and I feel maybe that those cigarettes actually saved me a lot of shit. Maybe, I mean, like, we could speculate. You worked in the school? Yes, I did, Christine. And thank you for being here with us. Kikifu. I wish I got some full moon fever I'm smoking on. Full moon fever sounds very nice as well. How much do you pay for iced cabbage in South Africa? I paid in blood, sweat and tears, if you will, friend. This is homegrown. With these hands and the water that grow that is like underneath our feet, and also the soil that is underneath our feet, dude. And good old Papa Sun came together to co-create what it is I'm smoking right now. Melty McMeltonmore. Good morning. So I'm in and out, might be listening, might be on a call, but hi. Thank you for tuning in, if even for a second, Dame. I appreciate it. Day 186 of what? I want to be made one. Day 186 of just showing up, friend. Every single day we've been showing up to come together into this space where we get to share with each other the experience that is whatever this space brings. You know, we get to feel. Sometimes I share my perspective on things, sometimes you share your perspective on things, and then we share perspectives based on the perspectives that we share. And so on and so forth. Love bombing the shit out of you in the whole chat. I lied. I'm just here to virtually cuddle Kiki. Have a wonderful night, Dave, folks. Thank you so much, Dave. Love and light to you as well. Wi-Fi for life. I finally made it to catch one of your streams. Wow, that is amazing. Thank you for that amazing award, friend. And thank you for joining us. How have you been, friend? Have you been busy? Is that why you've been having a hard time showing up? What have you been busy with, if you're willing to share with us? Aqui cookies. Aqui cookies. Is it wolf daar? Zo mijn wolf duckies. Nossa, my wolf duckies. Must have been a tense 30 days. I'd be thinking the worst. It's good you were able to get something positive from that experience. I try to, friend. I do try to. You know, I believe you can find positive experiences out of everything. And the contrast, you know, there's just this sheer contrast of experience I have right now compared to what I felt then is in itself making life very enjoyable. That 30 days was very intense. Fortunately, like, I had a friend that, like, it was around my birthday at that point as well, and he bought me The Witcher 3 and both of the DLCs for my birthday. And yeah, so I spent like 120 hours playing The Witcher 3 that month. It was blissful. Man, I had so much fun. I got to escape into that world, and literally, it was quite literally an escape into a different world. Because I felt so, like, tense, and man, I was a slob. Like, I would just, like, live in this bathrobe, basically. Living in a bathrobe, because I was just so depressed. I would stay in bed for as long as I could, and then once I couldn't stay in bed anymore, I would go and play The Witcher. And then if I get tired of The Witcher, I would distract myself with, like, some content, you know, whatever it is I wanted to watch, and then I would go back to playing The Witcher and sleeping. And then, like, just doing that, just to, like, distract myself from this fact that this thing is happening and I don't want to accept that it's happening and I don't know what is gonna happen, you know, and I think that's the thing that was the hardest. Yeah, man, life teaches you a lot of things. And I keep thinking about this, I think it's Seneca, the Seneca quote where he's like, we suffer more, or there are more things to be alarmed about than there are things to be harmed by. And because of that, we suffer more in mind than we do in reality. And that experience was very much one of those. I definitely suffered more in my mind than I actually ended up suffering in reality. I paid a big fine, which was very inconvenient. I mean, 30K, 32K goes a long way in South Africa. But, I mean, I would happily pay that versus not being here right now. Were your co-workers cool/interesting? One of them was. Actually, two of them was. Actually, 3, 4 of them was. Okay, yeah, 4. So, James was interesting. He traveled, like, when I met him, he had already traveled to like 103 different countries, which was bonkers to me. I was like so inspired by that. Amber is also someone I met in China who is like a really cool and interesting person, also an artist. Casey is also very, like, he's this gay Chinese dude that I met. That was like basically one of my teacher's assistants. And just because of him being like alternative, you know, to the way that they're expected to be in China, he was like super anti-China in his own way, and we definitely vibed very well on that. He was also like very fluent in English, so it was a absolute blessing to talk to him. And then also Victoria, who was again this alt Chinese girl who had her head shaved and she had like gang tattoos, big ass hoops in her ears, and also very articulate when it comes to her vocabulary in English. So we had fun having chats with each other. Yeah, those are the cool people that I met. Hey Candace, it's nice to have you here, my friend. Yeah, right, saying no to his offer would have probably made your situation much worse. Exactly. So I was like, yeah, I ain't gonna risk it. Burning some sage as I make some coffee. Thank you. Thank you for burning sage, actually. Like, yesterday, there was a bunch of dudes in my room, like, actual at the same time. My brother, his friend Johan, then his 3 friends, and then myself in the room. And they saw my stick of sage on my table. And they were like, what is this? And I'm like, well, that is sage. And they're like, what do you use it for? I'm like, well, you can burn it because it smells good. And then all of them laugh and they're like, oh, but it doesn't smell good. I'm like, no, it smells good. But you can also use it to cleanse yourself of like any negative energy by attaching an intention behind why it is you're doing something like that. Quite literally, you're taking yourself, lighting this thing on fire, seeing the little embers, seeing the smoke that comes off of it, telling yourself you're doing this because you're trying to cleanse yourself of negative beliefs, understandings, feelings you might be holding, and then smoking yourself, smelling it, seeing it, it being such a visceral experience. Like, even if the sage does absolutely nothing, you're doing something to yourself. And yeah, it's difficult to explain that to people sometimes, because they're like, oh, what? It's magic. Okay, it's freaking magic. Salt of the earth ganja. Love it. Yup. It is a real blessing, friend. Because I feel, especially since it's something that I kind of had this intention to create, you know, and co-create technically. There's so much love that I put into this product that is I'm now smoking, and it's a real blessing. Perspective on mushrooms. I believe they grow right out of the ground, friend. Busy. Hot tubs, and I work as a bouncer at a bar, puppy. That's really cool, my friend. Okay. Do you feel like you confront, like how much of your job is actually bouncing? Like, I'm curious. Or is it like generally kind of behaved? And how has people's behavior changed ever since COVID, or ever since the lockdown was a thing, then wasn't a thing, and then now sometimes is a thing again? Like, are they losing their minds a little bit more and trying to get over intoxicated because it's something they haven't done in a long time? And then as a result of that, you've been seeing an increase in like violent or misbehavior comparatively to the amount you were seeing before COVID. If you're willing to answer me that question. Awesome, there we go. I must say, friend, I really enjoy the aesthetic of your background. Looks super peaceful. Thank you, friend. I mean, it's an acacia tree. That thing literally produces DMT. That one trace amounts, but still, I believe the reason it's as complex as it is maybe because it has some information. Smoking with you. Thank you for joining me, Kitty McVicious. It's been so long since I've seen you here. How have you been? How's life been treating you? I started my 30-day fast on that day when you started. Are you talking to someone else, Candace? I think maybe. The Noon Booth's call is here. Now we're watching you together. I'm making him. I'm not exactly sure what that means either. First time I smelled burnt sage, it made me think of a weird biscuit and gravy. For me, it's like this very earthy smell. Like it's like a musk. It's like a... Yeah, I don't know how to explain it either. It smells like smoke. Like bass smells like smoke. And then it has like these nuances and notes. Get him, KK? Nah, she's vibing. Like straight chillin'. I'm happy. Weird question. 32k, because that's what I need to get a mountain yurt. Man, what are the odds? I was talking about Rand, but I mean the fact that it's 32k at the end of the day, it's like still a trip in its own. I'll talk to you, Candace. I'll suggest something, if you will. Do I want to do it here? Maybe consider creating artworks as non-fungible tokens. Maybe would help you reach that 32k Mongolian yurt goal. I want to grow my own sage now. Hey, Jovan, that's a perfect idea. I mean, grow some sage, grow some lavender, grow some other sages as well. You get a bunch of different sages. And then take like little sticks and strands from each one of those, bundle them together, make your own sage stick. Disassociation is not exactly something that is pleasurable. And like, I've not smoked high doses of Salvia divinorum, but I have friends that have, or I've talked to people that have. And this one dude, I'm not gonna say his name, there's one dude that I talked to, man, he told me that he had an experience where he was a conveyor belt at a shopping mall or something for his entire existence. Like, it felt like he lived for thousands of years as this conveyor belt in the shopping mall, where he was just like looping over and over and over again. And it's because like, oh man, like Salvia, in the way that it works, it's like completely foreign comparatively to all of the other things that we think we understand, like weed and, you know, the serotonin antagonist, the H2A receptors, if you will, antagonists. Yeah, Salvia is definitely not about any of that. Hey Magopo, it's nice to have you here. Do it, Joe Bot. Sage is the hardiest is the hardiest plant I grow. Yeah, it wants to live. Like that's the nice thing. Lavender also kind of just wants to live. It's just like, oh, puts out. Before your birthday, you did a 3-day fast, and we started at the same time. Oh yes, of course, Candace. I do remember that. I just, for some reason, I missed the context of what you were saying. Thank you for correcting me. I'm gonna definitely do it along with lavender and other herbs. Ching, ching, ching. There we go. You said it first, probably. My noon booty call. Sorry. You enjoy Salvia divinorum? Your noon booty call? Like what X do you smoke though? Like do you smoke it just as is, or do you like roll it up and put it under your tongue? Do you take it, you know, the traditional way, if you will? Like I'm curious. But I planned a 30-day fast. Yeah, I think you started a 21-day fast first, and then you basically extended it at the end of the day to a 30-day fast. To you friends who don't know, like Candace ended up finishing that 30-day fast, and her transformation is like jaw-dropping. It's really amazing. Thank you for the helpful Hades. I appreciate it, my friend. For the all-seeing upvote as well, Ryan. Oh, I'd buy a Viking Queen NFT. There we go. You see, can be done. Like imagine like little characters, right? Like having a literal character as an NFT. I think you would actually be able to do it. Viking Queen. It is like I'm trying to think about that as well right now, as an idea, as a concept, because I do want to get into creating more, and I feel that could be a cool way to do it as well. 50x. What the fuck, dude? What's wrong with you, man? I'm joking. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, each and every single one of us gets to experience life in our own ways, and it's perfectly okay to do so. No judgment whatsoever. Trap card. I've been caught. Oh, I am pretty tired today. Can you notice? Did you notice? Am I making you notice? You have activated my trap card, Jovan. Now I'm going to read something worth saying, because we haven't actually on stream today. Trap card has been activated. Ooh. Ooh, man, this is a trap. Dusty is here as well, reversed. Your thoughts. So, okay, the reason why I wrote this down in the first place is because it says first and foremost that everything in our external reality is perfectly neutral. All happening is perfectly neutral. It's not good, it's not bad, it's neutral. But it also says that our thoughts are not neutral. And it goes like, your thoughts are not neutral because your thoughts are imbued with the power of creation. And it really is. It really, really is. Think about how much you can create with a thought. Like if I start talking about, you know, a beautiful like landscape with a river flowing zigzag over it, and there being like these rock faces in the zigzags, and between or on top of these rock faces there are these interesting little creatures living, right? Each and every single one of us have now, with these thoughts, created a different reality. Because the creatures that I imagine isn't the same creatures that you imagined. You didn't see the same rock faces. Your water may look different. Your sky may have looked different. Man, your thoughts are imbued with the power of creation. I would love to sell NFT, but the process is so confusing, and buying the gas to create them has gone up. Yeah, that's also true. That is also true. You are right, Viking Queen. And hey, East Coast Rabbit, thank you for joining us here, my friend. I appreciate your presence so much. How have you been? Like, I did want to end the stream, but I'm gonna wait until you answer me. How have you been, friend? It's been a long time since I've actually, like, read how you've been. Like, it feels like you're always here to say hi. But we We don't share that many words, huh? Have you noticed as well? Has it been intentional? Am I reading too much into it? I tend to do that. But I also tend to stop doing that directly after I've done it. So, like, oh man, and you see, that is also the craziest part about thoughts, you know, and them being imbued with creation. Because I can say something that might be just like a fleeting creation to myself, but that can create, you know, a whole feeling or understanding or mindset within inside of someone else that they might carry with themselves longer than I intended for them to. And yeah, I think with that knowing, it is important to say things that are loving, you know, actually bring some good vibes, some good information, some good energy to imbue their thoughts with as well. I've been good, thank you, sir. You're always busy, lol. I'm not busy, not too busy to get to your message eventually. Are you not comfortable? Are you not comfortable? We're gonna stand up soon. We're gonna stand up soon, babs. We're gonna get up soon. I'm not too busy for you, Ego Rabbit. Like, always feel free to say something if you want to. I'll be back when you are. I am too thirsty now. Have a good night. Thank you so much, friend. I hope you have a good night as well. My friends, thank you for joining me as long as you did. I always appreciate your presence. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Hey, Lady Moirai, and bye, Lady Moirai.